are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast. I am Dylan Larck, on Twitter, here to talk to y'all today about the future of Auburn football. We did this a little bit with New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, whichever one the episode came out on. I don't even think it came out on New Year's, did it? I can check that real quick. It did not. I recorded it on New Year's Day. But yeah, we're looking at the bold predictions for next year. The college football season is officially over. I'm recording this pretty early on in the morning of January 21st. So yesterday, we were able to sit down and watch a game unfold. Ohio State is the national champion. They beat Notre Dame 34-23. Notre Dame almost came back, but, things happened, and Notre Dame just couldn't get it done. Second quarter, did not put up a single point. Really didn't put up any offense. 18 total yards in that, and it really sucks. I was rooting for Notre Dame, but sadly, they did not get it done. Ohio State now gets to claim national championship, and that does, in fact, suck. I hate it. But talking about Auburn football here, we're going to do some bold predictions for Auburn football going to 2025. Starting off, I didn't really put these in to the boldest category. I just kind of put them in the way that I think kind of fits into a better mold, I guess. Starting off number 5, I think Auburn's defense next year is going to be top 5 in the SEC. Now, they were very good last year. They had some star-studded freshmen that got out and played. Auburn went to the transfer portal, picked up some very solid guys who were going to get in the rotation pretty early on. And I think with another year with DJ Durkin, I think it really turns you into a potential defensive powerhouse. The offense to be determined. We'll talk about the offense pretty much for the remainder of this list, because I think the defense is such a solid unit. They played so well last year. Of course, they had moments where they broke down, but what can you do when your offense is not giving you enough time to get a breather? But again, with Durkin in year 2, with the staff that Durkin's built up, I like this defense next year. I really do. So I don't know. This doesn't really feel like a bold take to me. I feel like this would be pretty low on the scale. I think this is not a hot take, but I definitely think that Auburn's defense will be a top 5 defense in the conference. I mean, you got dudes who are aging up: Malik Blockton, DeMarcus Riddick, Jay Crawford, Caleb Harris, and names are slipping my names right now. Amon Langanis. All going into their sophomore years, all able to develop again under this staff. So, yeah, I definitely think this is a definite possibility for Auburn moving forward. Moving on to my next thing. You talk about last year with Peyton Thorne. I think Jackson Arnold is going to be a 2,500-yard passer in 2025. Now, again, this is one of those things where I'm like, I don't know if this is too much of a hot take. You look at last year, Peyton Thorne was almost a 3,000-yard passer, and I can't speak in volumes about how great of an arm talent he was. But 2,700 yards, 21 touchdowns, 9 interceptions from PT. You look at Jackson Arnold, and, I mean, he's a better talent. He's a 5-star plus recruit coming out of the 2022 or 2023 class, excuse me. And he's got all the tangibles. He's got the arm strength. He's got the finesse. He's got the dual threat ability that you love to see in your quarterbacks. So I look at what you can get out of Jackson Arnold. And, I mean, I don't think this is like me saying Auburn's going to perform. I mean, I predicted 8 wins. I've already predicted 8 wins moving forward. But I don't think Auburn needs 3,000 yards out of a quarterback to be a winning team. I mean, we saw it last year. Auburn went 5-7, and they were 300 yards away. I mean, really a game away from being from still remaining where they are, but having a 3,000-yard passer. Jackson Arnold last year, 1,400 yards passing. He also split the job with the backup quarterback, 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. But you try to hone in his abilities, and I mean, he's super talented. He is uber talented. I mean, you're looking at the most talented quarterback to be on your roster since Bo Nix. If you can just mold him, develop him, as Hugh Freeze says he can do, you got an offseason to do so. I mean, he's going into his 3rd year of college football. He should be moldable to an RPO scheme that he wanted to play in. So I think Jackson Arnold will go into 2025 or finish the 2025 season as a 2,500-yard passer, which, again, I don't think that's like too much of a hot take. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And now, going into a little bit of the negative here, I don't think Auburn will have a 1,000-yard rusher in 2025. You saw last year, Jarquez Hunter hit 1,200 yards. Much deserved season out of Quez. Definitely the one player out of like the past 3 or 4 years that deserved a season like he had was Jarquez Hunter. 1,200 yards, should have had more touchdowns than he did. And realistically, he only had 8 touchdowns. He probably had room for around 12 to 15. But some plays got called, and I'll leave it at that. But with the stable of running backs coming in next year, I mean, Damari Alston will be your number 1 guy, Jeremiah Cobb, Darrell Robinson from UConn, and, of course, whatever you can get out of Alvin Henderson. I think there's going to be too many carries to be split up for Auburn to truly have a 1,000-yard rusher in 2025. I think they could get close to it. I mean, I could see. I mean, Jackson Arnold's a dual threat guy, and that's going to take some carries away from the running backs. But I'm looking at Damari. I mean, 700 would be great for Damari. That's pretty much what I'm seeing. That. I mean, you go 700, and you probably have 400 from Darrell or Jeremiah, and 300 from the other back out of that group. And then, I mean, I don't really think you see too much of A-Train in this year. But yeah, I just don't think Auburn really gets a 1,000-yard rusher next year. But I do think they'll have some success on the ground because they'll have a slew of guys to pick from that are all great with the ball in their hand. So yeah, I think Auburn had that like trend for a while where they had a 1,000-yard rusher every year. It died off. And it came back with Quez, and I think it just kind of one season with it. Auburn would need a workhorse back, and I don't think they have that yet. Or it just isn't ready. Alvin's not ready to play yet, per se. I think A-Train, give him a year, and I definitely think he'll be the workhorse guy. But in this year, I just don't think it's plausible for Auburn to have a 1,000-yard rusher in 2025. Up next, now talking about some things that haven't happened in a while. Keandre Lambert-Smith last year had 981 yards receiving, had 8 touchdowns, which was tied tied first on the team. Here's the thing. He was tied with Cam Coleman, who also had 8 touchdowns, who got a lot of his touchdowns off of deep balls that were thrown. And Cam Coleman also had 598 yards. Had, what do you say? 600 yards, was one of the best wide receivers on the team. He was second in yards. And he is the most talented player on the field for Auburn at any given time. I think in the year 2025, in his second year of playing college football, Cam Coleman steps onto the field for the Auburn Tigers as the number 1 guy. And I think Cam Coleman reaches the peak of Auburn wide receiver room, just Auburn wide receivers in general. And Cam Coleman hits that 1,000-yard mark. Now, again, 600 yards, had 37 catches. So if you add in the 13 catches he was missing that Keandre Lambert-Smith got, and you multiply that by, let's say 16.2, that's the yards he was averaging. That's 210 yards added to it. So if he gets 50 catches from last year going on to this year, I mean, he has the math on that's about 800 yards. If my math does me good, 800 yards with the same catches. But I think there's going to be more passes to go Cam Coleman's way. I think you're going to get more deep balls thrown to him. I mean, Keandre Smith was averaging 20 yards a catch. I think you're going to get that same production out of Cam Coleman, and I think you're going to get 19 more yards. KLS was great, and he's an Auburn legend forever. But Cam Coleman's time to shine is 2025. New quarterback. I'm not going to say a new offense, but hopefully a more complete offense that I think he can really show out and get 1,000 yards. I truly think Cam Coleman will be the wide receiver to do that for the Tigers. So yeah, that's probably my boldest one. That's my boldest one, I think, out of the list. But my number one, so looking at Auburn's schedule for 2025, I don't know if it's fully available yet on ESPN. It is not. But, you know, Auburn's got some home games that were away games last year. The Iron Bowl is in Jordan-Hare Stadium. And I fully believe in the year 2025, Auburn will finally get their get back versus Alabama. And with that game in Jordan-Hare Stadium, you know, the last time Hugh Freeze took on Alabama and Jordan-Hare, it was in 2023. It was a close game. All the way through 27-24 was the score. Last year happened, it was a 14-point game. I think with Jordan-Hare magic going in Auburn's favor, I'm not too high on the trajectory of where Alabama's football program is going. I like where Auburn is headed. I think Auburn can round out the 2025 season, whether it be a 9-3, 8-4, 7-5, whatever it is. I think Auburn can finish it out with a win at Jordan-Hare Stadium versus Alabama. I truly believe that. It's my bold takes. It's a bold take season because, you know, the season just ended for college football. Bold take here. Auburn will win the Iron Bowl in 2025. Whether or not the age is well, that's up for Auburn to determine. But yeah, right now, on January 21st, 2025, I am picking, or bold prediction here, boldly picking Auburn to win the Iron Bowl this upcoming season. So that's my bold picks. Let me know what your bold picks are in the comment section below. What do you think? Do you think Auburn will have a 1,000-yard receiver? Will it be Cam Coleman? Will it be someone else? And let me know what you think of Jackson Arnold in the comment section below. I mean, just give me your bold predictions for Auburn football. The season is months away, and all we got to talk about right now are bold predictions and just making wild assumptions that just couldn't even happen. You know, why not? Let's just say Deuce Knight throws the first touchdown of the year. You know, weird, wacky things you could say, but those bold predictions, I'm pretty sure of. So yeah, Auburn finishes top 5 defense in the SEC. Jackson Arnold, 2,500-yard passer. Auburn won't have a 1,000-yard rusher this year. Cam Coleman does hit the 1,000-yard mark receiving wise, and then Auburn Tigers will win the Iron Bowl in 2025. Those are my bold predictions. Let me know yours, comment section below. And of course, for a quick little break real quick, and then we'll have some basketball conversation to talk about and a little bit of a story time because it's a tradition of a major event that happened. And in my fandom, in my time as a student at Auburn, as well as Auburn basketball. So stay tuned, and we will be right back. Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes, looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your college loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program. Of course, that's on the warreport.com second page of the shop. And you can get your very own Feelin' Loop t-shirt, college loop hat. You know, Valentine's Day's coming up. Why not get your significant other the best gifts possible? And that's comfortable clothes, i.e. the Feelin' Loop t-shirt, college loop hat. But that's only one way to support the show. The best way to support the show is, of course, by liking, by subscribing, and by commenting. Again, leave your bold predictions for football in 2025. And don't forget to subscribe as you scroll down there to make that comment. Now, Auburn basketball is now going on week 2 of being the number 1 team in the country per the AP poll, finally opening their eyes because the Auburn Tigers, for the first time in history, are unanimously the number 1 team in the country. So the AP poll voters finally got it right. All of them voted Auburn number 1. They get it. They get the picture. And of course, Auburn will take it on the Tennessee Volunteers this Saturday. So we'll be talking about it on the next episode of the College Loop. But what I wanted to do here to kind of round out the show, I won't take too much of y'all's time here, is to kind of go back to the last time Auburn was ranked number 1, or really the game that got them the number 1 spot. That year with Jabari and Walker Kessler, that magical regular season that didn't end too well. It got bounced in the first round of the SEC tournament, got bounced in the second round of March Madness, and I mean, it was just a disappointing end of the year. But that regular season was magical. 27-4, 15-3. And the game that will always stand out to me happened really 3 years ago today, was when the progression of the game really happened. Of course, the game happened the day after. So Friday, January 21st, 2022, Kentucky was in town. Auburn, the number 2 team in the country, won the game 80-71, but that's not really important to the story because the night prior was the most wild thing I've ever been a part of as an Auburn fan. The original Pearlville. And I believe we talked about this before. Me and Tar talked about this ad nauseum because this is just the craziest thing we had going on as college students. So I worked at the movie theater. I got off work. I asked if I could leave a little early, so I wanted to go to the game, and I tried to keep up with it as much as possible on my phone. So I get off work early, go home. I get a shower after work. I try to bundle up as much as possible. I know it's gonna be cold out. Messed up and didn't wear a second pair of socks, but that's neither here nor there. I still have Alton in my toes. Didn't think I was at the end of the day or end of the night, really. I get there. I find Tar and our group of friends somewhere in the middle of what you could call a line, but it was really more of a mob waiting to happen. So yeah, we sit there for hours. I finally find my way to squeeze through. I'm not the smallest guy in the world, so it was really hard to do that. I was sitting there. We were just kind of chilling for a little bit. People brought donuts, which was cool. You know, I grabbed some donuts, and I grabbed 2 boxes of donuts. I kind of stole it, and I was gonna try to use it as a bartering system. But after a while of holding those donuts, you kind of get tired of it. And so what I did was I asked people if they wanted donuts. So people from like 20 feet away, people from 50 feet away were asking for donuts. So I was trying my hardest to launch donuts as far as I could to get to these people. Some of them made it, some of them didn't. One of them definitely hit a girl in the face. I deeply apologized because it was funny because the guy was right behind her, and it just barely missed his hand. It just bounced it was like right. It just like curved right perfectly down in front of his hand that it just hit her right in the face. And after that, I mean, we didn't really have much food. It really felt like we were just sitting in a camp, like a very messy campground. And after that, music was playing. They played Freebird 80 million times that night. I'm not the biggest fan of Freebird after that night. Still not to this day. And of course, you struggle to go to sleep. It's like 20 degrees at max. We're all bundled up together, trying to stay warm. Again, I'm not wearing 2 pairs of socks, so some of my toes are numb at this point. I don't feel anything whatsoever. So trying to stay warm. We play card games. We do this thing. We're just talking. And hours go by. It felt like days. But around midnight, things got a little worse for wear. People started getting closer, trying to get antsy. And then, you're sitting there just kind of looking around, waiting for something to happen, waiting for what's going to happen next. And we finally went to sleep. And it was around, I probably got like an hour and a half of sleep, if that. Tar mentioned at this time while I was asleep, someone tried to do the body getter thing, but instead of doing body getter, they instead read the Gettysburg Address. That happened while I was asleep. But long after that, Tar fell asleep. And then around 5 o'clock, now mind you, this game was at noon. So gates were not opening until 10 or 11. But around 5 o'clock, everyone decided to stampede the gates. So while I was asleep, I had to wake up abruptly before I got trampled. And I grabbed my chair and the blanket, not even thinking about what's going on around me, and just ran. Just ran. And then from 5 o'clock to 10:30, we just stood there. And BP and some players, I think some of the women's players came out and brought biscuits, trying to give it out to all the fans that were doing this crazy thing. And some people got hit in the face with biscuits. Some of us didn't get biscuits. Now, mind you, this was supposed to be like a campground, like an official campground before it turned to a mob. There were tents set up. My stuff was in a tent. I never saw it until we got out of the game, and I was scared to death it got stolen. Because again, this was like, there was like no rules. This was like its own like I don't even know what to call it. But yeah, after a while standing there, we all at that point the exhaustion all came in. It was just sitting there laughing at everything. Someone climbed a light pole, and now every time we see a light pole in Auburn, we call out we see a light pole. And there was a crow or a vulture that kind of flew over the, I guess because the smell of all the college students who haven't taken a shower in like 12 hours and were spent the entire night huddled up together and sweating. They probably had the scent of death, and there's a vulture just flying around the students. And we're just looking up at this vulture spinning around. And, someone just starts doing we do the war eagle thing. So we're all just saying war and just extending it because the vulture doesn't know to land with that. It's not part of the Raptor Center. It just like sits in there, spins around. And little by little, we're all like inching forward towards the gates. At this point, whenever the stampede happened, I lost my entire group. I didn't see anybody from my group for about an hour or to 2 hours. And then after that, I didn't see Tar until the game started. And me and him were like next to each other before in Pearlville, as it was deemed. Pearlville now has rules and regulations. It did not have it while I was there. I heard rumors that people were jumping the gate and getting just to get early in, and I did not see anyone do that. But if I did, I'm I don't know what I would have done. Sleep deprived. But yeah, that was the wild experience that I enjoyed being a part of. Would I do it again? Probably. I'd probably just prepare a little bit better. So again, we got in that whole night. Just me only getting an hour and a half of sleep, freezing cold. Don't know if I have all 10 of my toes at this point. I got to go in and watch Auburn, number 2 team in the country at this point, take on Kentucky, beat them 80-71. And it was the greatest game I sat and watched. I went to a lot of games that year. Of every single one of them, that was the best game. I was there when Auburn won the regular season title. I still have the 2 sign things that I made sure not to pass around to anybody. So yeah, that was super exciting a moment. And I didn't even know I was going to be talking about this until like right before I started recording the show. And I looked at my phone with Snapchat and said, you have a memory here. Cause I tried to do like a little hour, by the hour thing. That did not pan out too well after a while. Somehow my phone stayed charged the whole night. I did have a portable charger, but somehow that stayed alive throughout the night. But Auburn won the game. I swear up and down that Auburn lost. I don't believe Kentucky would have been able to leave the arena without the Auburn student body saying something about it. But yeah, truly a great game that led to Auburn getting the number 1 ranking for the first time in forever, marking the true turnaround that Bruce Pearl has done outside of the Final Four run, of course. But truly was one of the best teams you got to watch. I mean, Jabari, Walker, the good side of KD Johnson, so on and so forth. But yeah, it's just a great overall game, and I am so glad to have been part of the first ever Pearlville. But yeah, that's all I want to talk about. I was just going to shout that out. We don't have to preview a game yet. I do think women's basketball is on the way soon, if I'm not mistaken. I think they play on Thursday. Yeah, they play on the 23rd. So yeah, Thursday. So we'll be talking about that on the Wednesday or the Thursday show, previewing that game versus Mississippi State. But yeah, this was like I don't want to say a rant, but like 5 bold predictions and then story time about something that happened, a major moment in Auburn basketball history that I got to be a part of. But that's going to do it for this installment of the College Loop Podcast. I want to thank everybody for tuning into this installment. Of course, I'm Dylan Larck, on Twitter and at Dylan Larck on Instagram at DYLENLARCK. You also find me right in the College Loop Podcast where you like, comment, and subscribe. I just kind of didn't do the number thing. Getting very close to 1,000 subscribers. But of course, don't forget to leave your comments. What are your bold predictions for Auburn football in 2025? Do you think Auburn's going to go 0-12, or do you think Auburn's going to win the national championship? Leave that below. And of course, don't forget to check out the audio version of the show as well on Spotify Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and of course, social media platforms everywhere. That's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, right here, YouTube, and also TikTok, because TikTok's back. We're on TikTok still. Of course, with that being said, this part of the College Loop Podcast yet again. And as always, War Eagle.